Hey guys, and welcome back. My name is MrCaproni, and this is your channel for basic probability and statistics. Today we're going to be discussing experiment design, which may seem boring, but in reality, this is what paints the line between being legit versus being a mad scientist, all right? At what point do you say we've crossed into being unethical or unjust? At what point are we causing society more harm than good with our experiments? Today we'll be discussing how to properly set up an experiment and what could go wrong if you don't. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. All right, so back in the day, Germany, the Nazis, used to have an internment camp called Dachau. And Dachau would go ahead and run experiments on prisoners of war, people they captured while they were fighting. And that included a lot of US soldiers. And they would run these experiments that would often lead to death for the people they were experimenting on. But they were doing it to try to save lives of their own soldiers. So today, we're going to go ahead and look at one of those experiments. Starting off, here's what they wanted to fix. They wanted to find a way that when their pilots would eject in freezing cold weather from their airplanes, when they would land, they would end up living from the ejecting with a parachute or whatever, but then they would die from freezing cold weather. So they wanted to find a way. Can we save these pilots if they are so close to freezing to death when we find them? Obviously, if they found them already dead, they can't do anything. But what if they were right on the edge of death? Is there a way they could bring them back? And this brings us back to the internment camp. So they've decided now that they're going to try to freeze their prisoners all the way up to being right on the edge of death, and then see if they can bring their bodies back to a normal temperature without killing them. Now, a lot of times they fail. The prisoners would actually just die from freezing to death. But they tried 3 new methods of bringing them back. The first one was simply putting them in a sleeping bag. Now, that may seem silly, but they were hoping that the gradual, slow warmth would prevent them from dying. Second thing they tried was putting them in a scalding hot bath. Now, that may seem like a great idea, but if you've ever jumped in a hot tub after being out in the cold, you know that it feels like needles all over your body. But this would be 100 times worse because it was literally boiling water and they were literally on the edge of freezing to death. And the last method they tried is they actually took female prisoners and forced them to copulate with prisoners. Now, if you don't know what copulating means, then you should probably look it up because I don't think we can talk about it in this class. But they would force that upon the prisoners, both of them, and see if that would raise their body temperature or quicken their blood flow to try to prevent them from freezing to death. So was this okay? Yes? No? I don't know. Leave a comment below and let me know how you feel about this situation. Were they legit? Was this all right? Or should this never have happened and should never happen again? Let me know how you feel. Put it in there. And while you're down there, click like and subscribe to keep getting videos like this and let me know I'm doing a good job. But as I was saying, in order to avoid having some crazy situations like this where they put lives in danger or just do things that are unethical, there are 3 major things that the statistical world has come up with to help make sure that experiments run smoothly and correctly. The 3 things that we want to look at are control, randomization, and replication. Now, I'm going to break each one of these down, but these are the key elements that make an experiment legit. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is control. Control is kind of just because there's so many things in real world that can ruin an experiment, how can you maintain control? Now, these important vocab words will help us get there: confounding variable, placebo, placebo effect, blinding, double blinding. But I'm going to cover all of those in another short video on just control of experiment design. So don't worry about all of that right now. Let's keep it short and simple for today, and we'll dive into that in one of our future videos. The second one is randomization. Now, again, I'm going to cover randomization in its own video as well. In randomization, we have 2 major parts. The first one is once you have people in your experiment, how do you split them up to know what type of people get the treatment and what type of people don't? Well, that's where this comes in, to either splitting them up completely by match pair or by blocked. We're going to talk about what each one of those mean in the randomization video, along with the 4 major types of sampling techniques that allow you to choose which participants you use in your experiment. The last key element is replication. And the reason why is this. That's how you decide how valid something is, to know if they're telling the truth or not. If I'm able to do something once, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will happen every time. It could just be luck. But if I change that and say I can do it over and over and over and get the same results, it allows the people to believe me a bit more. A good example of this would be flipping a coin. If I came in the class and said, check it out, guys, I'm magical, which I'm sure you believe, then I would say, hey, watch me flip this coin over and over. And I promise you, I could get heads every single time. So I go ahead and I ask the class for a coin. They give me one, I flip heads one time. Would you guys believe that I am magical based off of that? Probably not. But now, if I keep flipping that coin and I keep getting heads, let's say I do it 10 times now, 10 times in a row, and they're all heads, a few of you might start questioning yourself and be like, is he actually magical? I don't know. But then what if I collect more coins from everyone in the room and I'm flipping all of them and they're all landing on heads, and we're talking thousands of coin flips and they're all heads. Now all of a sudden you might start really second guessing your life because you're like, look, maybe he actually can do this because I've seen it so many times now. Replication means that you're able to repeat it over and over and get the same results. And it is so important because it raises the validity of your experiment. It allows someone to believe in what you're doing to be true because they can see that when you do it over and over again, you still get the same results. All right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Now, remember, in this video, we covered the importance of experiment design. If we didn't have experiment design rules, then mad scientists would be running amok in the world, doing whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted, and it would just be a hot mess. Instead, we go ahead and make our experiments valid through control, randomization, and replication. In the next 2 videos, we are going to break down control and then we're going to break down randomization so that you have the best understanding possible of those 2 items. Again, thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something new, and join me next time for Basic Probability and Statistics.